The old method of using force, punishment, and dominance to train our horses is dying, and relationship-based horse training is taking its place. Horses rely on deep relationship for survival in the wild, and that is why it is so profound in motivating our horses, really also making our horses much more enjoyable to be around. So if you want to learn more about how to train your horse with a deeper relationship and how your relationship with your horse could actually fix all of the problems that you're having with your horse, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm a whole horsemanship trainer, and I am on a mission to help you and your horse to form a deeper connection and a better bond so you can enjoy more magic together, and also to help you find more meaning in the slog of the day-to-day, because let's face it, there's plenty of that. Today we're going to be talking all about how to use your relationship with your horse to fix a lot of problems, and how we can actually trace a lot of our big issues that we're having with our horses back to our relationship in the first place. Before we jump into the real meat of this conversation, I do want to start just by talking a little bit about how herds are structured in the wild and how horses use relationship. I said in the intro that they rely on relationship for their survival, and that wasn't an exaggeration. That's actually a real thing. So what happens is, in the wild, we used to think forever and ever, because of the way that our human societies are formed, that horse herds were formed as a patriarchal hierarchy, so that the reason that there was one stallion in every band of wild horses among a whole bunch of mares was because he was making the decisions, and that their sort of structure was really based on this like dominance theory. We now know that that is not true. It's actually a matriarchal democracy, which means that the mares actually make all of the decisions, and that they have more pull based on their age, their experience, and basically how much respect and trust they've earned from their herd mates. And this is really cool and profound, because what this means is that horses, in order to keep themselves safe in the wild, rely on each other and on their sort of pre-established respect and trust within their relationships to help determine what's a threat, what's not a threat, how to respond in moments of danger, and how to find safety. And so when we extrapolate that and pull our horses into our human relationships, where we're working with them in ways that are more convenient for us, and where we've also like bred the horses to be a different kind of model than our wild horse, what we find is that actually having a deep relationship with our horses that is built on building trust and respect and this deep connection and bond over a long period of time is a lot more powerful in motivating our horses and helping them to feel safe and relaxed than a dominance and force-based approach. So now that we understand that, how do you apply that in your everyday world with your horse? So the first thing I want to talk about is the idea of relationship hygiene. And so what that means is that we are taking a little bit of time every time we interact with our horse to keep our relationship cohesive, to make sure that we are being careful about our partnership, and that we're valuing our horse as an equal member of this relationship. Now, where I don't want to get my words mixed up is equal member does not mean that we both do all of the jobs. If you think about any like sports team, for example, like let's take, I don't know, soccer. If every player plays every position, that team is in pure chaos all of the time. Nobody knows what's going on, and there's no order. So it's very important that there is a very clear division of responsibilities, is what I like to call it. And so what that means is the rider always, no matter what, is in charge of where you're going, how fast you get there, and preparing the horse for whatever's coming next. The rider has a prefrontal cortex. The rider is responsible for planning, for preparation, for making decisions. The horse is responsible for execution and making those things happen safely and keeping their rider safe. Two very important jobs in any circumstance, two very different jobs. So this is really important, and part of relationship hygiene is making sure that you don't cross the boundary into what is your horse's job, and that you don't ask them to do your job. There's very clear division of responsibilities. You never ask your horse or allow your horse to make decisions about where you're going or how fast you get there or how you plan or prepare for an obstacle. And then once you get to that obstacle, you never try to tell your horse how to do their job, how to navigate a steep downhill, or how to approach a large jump, or, fill in the blank, right? Whatever's happening. So your job is to prepare your horse. Let's use the steep downhill, because I like that analogy. But say you're coming to a steep downhill because you are the rider, you've planned the ride, you've planned the trail, you've looked at the maps, you've looked at the topography, you know what's coming next. The horse has no idea. They're following along blindly. You're coming to the steep downhill, you know that you need to slow down because it's going to drop off. If you're moving at too fast a speed, it is your job as the rider to signal to the horse, we need to slow down now because something's about to happen. Slowing your horse down, balancing them. Once you get to that steep drop off, it's now your job to sit back, stay balanced, to stay out of your horse's way, and give them their head so that they can navigate their way down the steep path. That is not your job to tell your horse how to go down the path. If, however, you start to feel like maybe you're on a young horse or an unexperienced horse and they're going to make a mistake, you can totally hey, excuse me, pay attention, right? Or, hey, excuse me, please slow down. But you don't get to sit there and tell them how to do their job. Okay, so that's the first thing, is relationship hygiene and making sure that you are staying within your responsibilities as the rider, and also that you are asking your horse to stay responsible for theirs and holding them accountable to what is their job. The second piece to this is to encourage play. So we also want to be really careful, again, that we're keeping really clear lines. When we're working, we're not playing. This can sometimes get a little bit dangerous, as maybe you've seen. Horses that start getting a little bit too playful under saddle can sometimes lead to bucking or bolting or spooking because they're just not quite sure, is this playtime or work time. So we want to keep those really distinct, separate times. But play is really important for horses, and it can be really, really powerful as a bonding tool. And I always encourage everyone to find time to play with their horse. This could look like a massage, this could look like going exploring, this could look like enrichment activities, or going to find new obstacles and seeing how you can navigate them, exploring new trails. This could look like turning them out. This could look like doing some liberty work. There's so many different things that play could look like, but it's really important, again, that you always have that line of this is playtime and this is work time, and then also that when you're playing, you still get to hold a boundary. So just because you're playing doesn't mean that you get to let your horse do whatever they want the whole time. Even when you're playing, you are still, as the rider, responsible for your responsibilities, and your horse is responsible for theirs. Play is just another way to apply them. And then the third and final thing that I would encourage you to do to deepen your relationship with your horse is to work on building trust. Trust is built slowly over a long period of time. I think about, you have to trust your horse in order for them to trust you back. It has to be a two-way street. I think about a lot of this cowboy that I met one time. So I met this cowboy one time in another lifetime that was explaining to me that when he went out on the weekends, he was an old man, he'd be doing this for a long time. He lived in the same town for a long time. He would get on his most trusty horse and he would ride him to the bar, and he would drink as much as he wanted to. And when he was done for the night, he would come out, get back on his horse, lay down, and go to sleep. And he would wake up at home every single time. And that, to me, is maybe not smart and maybe not a great idea, and definitely do not recommend, but I do think that is the epitome of trusting your horse and having your horse then trust you in return. I think that's a really interesting little anecdote about that. If you want to learn more about how to build trust in a really deep and meaningful way with your horse, check out this video because I go into much more detail than what I'm going to do here. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got a lot out of that one, and please make sure to hug your horse for me.